Let's hear about the truth of living in Mintabie. Let's have a look. Hello everyone. Today I'm here with Stephanie Cairns from Mintabie. How are you going?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. I've got a picture between us that you sent me of you and your children standing in front of the sign pointing to your town and with the opal fields on there. So just so everyone knows, you've agreed to let me show photos of your kids because your town isn't like Mad Max, not like the media's put forward. It's a normal town.
No, it is.
You watched the video I made before with a bit of a spicy title about you all getting kicked out of your town, and you thought, okay, I got to set this city boy straight and let him know a bit more about what's actually going on there. So thanks for agreeing to have a chat, and why don't you let everyone know a bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Stephanie. I've lived in Mintabie for almost a year with my husband and 3 children. We basically came up and sort of fell in love with the town, were told to put the kids into school in the hope that it would possibly keep the town opening. It was a very scary prospect, sort of looking forward in doing so, but we just fell in love with the community, the people, the way of life. It's very different to the city life, and yeah, that's sort of how we sort of got up there.
Well, I might just jump to a Google Earth view of people to let them know how remote this community actually is, particularly people from overseas, America or Europe that are watching. I mean, this is Australia, and this is as big as Europe, and you got Adelaide down here, and you got this highway cutting through the middle of the country. You just keep going north, 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 north. You see this little white speck. I've gotten good at finding it on Google Earth now. And you zoom in and in and in, and that's
not easy.
No, it isn't. And that little white speck turns into all these opal fields, and then at the edge of the speck you got a town here, and we've got an airport. And how far is it from the highway? About 40 k's, or on a dirt track?
It's 33 kilometres, but that dirt track it's far from just a dirt track. It is very much a corrugated track, almost to the point that you actually need a full drive with really good suspension to drive down it, because otherwise you are just sending your car down into a death trap pretty much.
So you can't really get a normal car down there, or it's going to stay there.
You can, but yeah, you are running the risks of it not coming back pretty much. That's how horrendous the track becomes, especially once you have storms and things like that as well.
So we've got, I'll just jump to an image that they've got here. This is the horrible one from the newspaper, just showing the car yard, and that's what the news are putting all over. That's what's in the government reports. But I'll jump to another one, which is a beautiful old stone building, which is in the middle of town, the post office there that you've got in Mintabie, and that's. As an architect, I look at that and I appreciate the quality of construction that's gone into that type of building, and it's just the contrast that they show you. You've got, the news is all full of these Mad Max, Once for Warrior, Thunderdome wreckage, but it's a normal town. So, what's it like living there? You and your husband moved there. What's it like? Share some anecdotes with us.
So firstly, I just want to touch base in regards to the cars and the whole Mad Max sort of theme that the government's sort of painting on the town. So yes, we do have a lot of cars in town. Like I said before, the track is not one for these normal cars. When you look at the piles and piles of cars that are there, they are just ordinary cars. They're sedans, they're station wagons, they're nothing that should really be going down that track in the state that it's in. Whether it's previously been any better or whether it is any better now, either way, you just should not be taking a standard vehicle down that track, and that is part of the reason why there are so many vehicles there to start with. Besides that, like you said, the stone buildings, my gosh, they are just amazing. When you first enter the town, on your very left, there is one of the first houses ever built, from what I've been told. It has a beautiful porch entrance, and it is literally built with stone all the way around. There's no wooden bits and pieces. There's no steel work. It is all stone from the front. If you drive further in on the right, there is also another beautiful stone home. There are lots of them. There's another stone cottage that we've been through, and it's just, it melts your heart. It's beautiful.
Is that stone that was dug out of the mines and just used to build the houses, or?
That I can't tell you. I'd love to know, because the stones are amazing. The house that we're living in now, I'm not sure if I sent a photo to you or not, but the place that we're living in now, our main living area, kitchen, is all stonework. It's just unbelievable. You can sit there for hours.
There's a photo of your fireplace, and I think your children all snuggling up into it that I'm showing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's our fireplace. My girl's having a great afternoon, evening, sitting down, roasting marshmallows in front of the fireplace. That piece of stone, I'm not sure if it's a great picture, but the piece of stone that's behind it is actually taller than myself, and it is one solid piece of stone.
So does anyone live underground out there, like in Cooper Pedy, or are you all just above ground?
Majority of us are above ground. There are a few places that sort of have a semi-dugout. I haven't been in those places. I've just been told that that there are a couple of rooms with attachments at the front of a building. There is one place that my husband showed me that is abandoned. It was just sort of like you walk in as a main room, then you have a little bit that comes off to the side, another little bit that comes off to the side. That was all dug out and underground, and it's amazing. Like you said, the architecture of these things is just unbelievable, and you look at them and they are just out of this world. It's not brickwork, it is stonework, and it's stunning.
So it's a established town. It's been there for quite some time.
Yes.
And
yes.
Well, what about leaving the city, taking your kids out to a remote town on the edge of civilization, and you went to a school there? What? I've got some images of the school, and I'll just put them up here. And I'm a bit stunned actually, because it looks like quite good facilities that they had out there.
Oh, they were great facilities. The government definitely looked after the school for many years. The school was open for 30 years. It was established in 1988 and closed down last year in 2018. So it was open for 30 years. The education that came from the school was just unbelievable. When we moved, I had a 10-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 4-year-old. So my 10-year-old was in year 5, and my 5-year-old was in preschool. Sorry, she had turned 5 that year, so she started preschool.
Yep.
And the amount of knowledge that they absorbed and took in was just astounding. The equipment that they have there to help the children learn is just unbelievable. They've got, your traditional counting methods, your traditional using physical things to help learn, mainly with maths. But the staff, the educators there were just fantastic. My 10-year-old, she went to the school. Her first day was to do the NAPLAN test. We got the results back, and sadly, and much to my disappointment, she was below average on everything. And I actually almost felt like crying, because it's something that no mother wants to see or hear, knowing that their child is lacking or even several years behind. Further test was done to grade her to find out at what level work she should be doing, and she was actually at a year 3 level. So she came into the school to be a grade 5 student,
yep.
But her knowledge and her learning capacity was at a year 3 level, which is unbelievably hard to take on as a parent. And all I can say is that I'm just so truly blessed that I had the opportunity to put the kids into that school, because they learnt, well, my eldest learnt 2 years of education in 2 months. By the time she finished, she was back up to Year 5 level and ready
for
Year 6.
In 2 months?
In 2 terms, sorry. In 2 school terms.
2 terms.
In 2 school terms. So I think that's about 18 weeks or 20 weeks. And that's without doing homework too, might I add. That was just school-based learning. There's 6 students in the school. There is 1 full-time teacher, and then there were, I believe, SSOs to help as well. You know, but obviously because there's different year levels, you sort of have to break up at a certain point.
Yep.
But I was just astounded by her improvement and her excitement to want to go to school. All of them, for a matter of fact. There were days where you'd go there and pick them up and you would have to drag them out of the classroom to get them home because they just loved being at school. They loved the way that they were taught, all the different things that they have to learn. It was simple, it was to the point, they understood it. It wasn't, you know, dilly-dallying around with rainbow facts and all this other stuff that's just extra knowledge they don't need. They just need to learn the basics at school. And it was just unbelievable.
So the school was, you didn't move to the middle of Australia for the school. That was a pleasant surprise and really an outcome that you never expected, and your children loved it. So
It was a little bit of both. My husband did mention to me that, you know, it is a great school and it would be great to have the extra students. So it was a little bit on my...
Because your husband went out there first?
Yeah, he went out there first with a friend and sort of got hooked on the opal mining, as everyone does. You see those strong men looking at pretty stones, and yeah, you just get hooked. You really do. Even myself, I never thought I'd like or be interested in the opal itself, but I can't explain it. It's mesmerizing. I just couldn't believe it. I was sitting there in my driveway and just noodling in my driveway, sitting there digging away at my driveway and finding opal.
Could you explain what noodling is to people who aren't familiar with the term? We're not talking pasta. What does noodling mean?
No pasta.
Yep.
No, so basically noodling is sort of a bit like gold mining, you know, when you do it by hand and you sort of sift out through your tray, you basically put the dirt in your tray and you just sift out, looking out for the beautiful colours. There's a couple different types of noodling. So you've got your hand noodling, you've also got machinery, and that's another way of noodling. But basically noodling is going through piles of dirt that have already been turned over or have had explosives through them and they've been pushed to the side, so they go through that pile. But this was in my driveway. This was about 200 to 300 metres away from the actual mine itself. I'm just sitting there in my driveway.
Yep.
My father-in-law came up and visited us, and he started sweeping the driveway and saw colour, and I'm like, okay, let's start digging. Just there in your driveway. My husband came home and he goes, what are you doing? What are all these potholes in my driveway for? I said, look at these.
So is he working on one of the mines? Did he get a lease or helping a friend? Or
He's got a claim.
Yep. And
he is sort of working in a partnership with a few of the other gentlemen up there, because it costs a lot of money to run your machines. It costs a lot of money to purchase these machines to start with. So because we are such a tight-knit community and we are so how do you say, I wouldn't say well bonded, but you know, we all have a respect for each other. And you know, so he sort of got together with a couple other guys. He sort of set up the machinery and is slowly getting through his claim. And it's just one of those things. Each person has their own how do you say, expertise.
Yep.
His is being mechanics. Some of the other guys are just simply because they've got the machinery, they know what they're looking for, they know where to look, and things like that. So once you get a group together of people like that, you know, you can really start looking and finding some beautiful things. A few other people in town have actually got drives where they drill down and, like you've seen on Opal Hunters, they've actually got these caves where you go down into. and that's another way of mining too, and those are beautiful as well. There's a couple pictures that I've sent through of the kids in one of the drives where there's a water hole, and it's just exquisite, and you can see the seams of opal through them too. It's unbelievable. It's something different.
I'm trying to find that one. I think I've lost that image.
No, you're all right.
But
yeah, when it gets very hot, we sort of need to try and find a way to cool down, and that's one of the best spots. The water is I'd say about 5 degrees. Inside the actual drive itself, it's around, I believe, about 22, 25 degrees, and majority of the time outside, it's about 40 plus.
40 plus?
Yeah.
Out there? So
yes.
You're living inside all the time, or you get used to it?
It's something that you do get used to. I mean, like living in Adelaide or, Queensland yourself, people that live in Darwin, you get used to sweating. So you make sure you're ready to go outside for when you do start to sweat and look like you've been in a swimming pool. When it's hot outside, we all just freeze drink bottles, live off Zupa Dupas, and you just prepare yourself. But yes, you do acclimatise to it. And some days, no, you just don't want to go outside. You just stay inside, enjoy the aircon, and watch a movie.
So people, can you make a living off the opals, or is it a hard slog, or or is it like prospecting? You hope you find like a huge one, and then you're set for life. How does it work?
It's all of what you've just said. It's a mixture of different things. It's exactly like gold mining. You don't know exactly where everything is. You have a rough idea. Lots of people in town have different ideas. You've got to go further south, you've got to go further east, you've got to come closer to the town, you've got to go further down. It's a number of different things. It's hard work. One afternoon, my husband and I, when the machines were all set up and running, I sat in the noodling box, which is literally a tin rectangle box. It has a belt that runs through the middle, and it has a black light that sits over the top, and you sit in there with the door closed behind you, and you just pick out all the glow-in-the-dark pieces, which are possibly opal. Whether it's good colour or not, it's another story. It's all guess. And you just sit there for hours just going through it, and it is so mesmerising. But yes, it does get very hot.
Oh, fantastic. So the town, it's a remote community. What about the facilities that you have out there? You're pretty self-sufficient, I imagine?
Yeah. So we basically, if you can imagine, we don't have power lines at all. There is, I think the last power line you see is, I don't even think Marla's got power lines, to be honest. I'm pretty sure the last lot of power lines you get is Cooper Pedy.
Really?
So, yes, the majority, and Cooper Pedy from Mintabie is about 330 k south.
Yeah, I'm zooming out on the map there to show people how far it is away. Yep.
And, yeah, so we rely on solar. We have batteries where the power goes into, and we have inverters that, I don't know the technical side, but all of that jazz to get our power basically. And if there's no sun or we're just not getting the power, we run off generators. Lots and lots of people run off generators. And there is, I believe, a certain number of people that sort of get together and buy a diesel tank, like a actual truck diesel tank that comes into town and supplies people with diesel, and that's just how we run. In regards to water, we have little tubes. We have literally black tubing from Bunnings that you can buy that supplies our header tanks. There's also a picture I sent you of our header tanks.
Yes, I've got one up here now,
Yep, the water runs into our header tanks, and that's basically the water that we get. Every afternoon the water gets turned off from the main tank or the bore station up on the hill, and you basically rely on what's in your header tank. If you don't have the water in your header tank, well, you don't have any water for the evening.
Do you capture rainwater off your roof, or does it?
Yep. Yep, majority of the houses here capture lots and lots of rainwater. Unfortunately, the majority of tanks are actually quite full. We've had some interesting weather. I think some of your Queensland tropical monsoonal rains has come and visited us.
Yep.
If you like, I can send you a little bit of footage of that. We've had rivers run down our roads, wash away our roads.
Yes, you've sent me some footage of that. Yeah, I'm just showing those pictures now of all the water going down there. So, is water a problem in that community there at that? Because you're in desert there. Do you just have to collect it and hold on to it and be water aware out there?
In regards, well, we are, but a lot of people don't need to water their gardens. Essentially, lots of the gardens are sort of mostly pot plants or things like that. We don't have a lush, lawn or anything like that. If we do, it is pretty much maintained by the bore water or rainwater that is collected. Many places have the rainwater tanks so that we can actually drink the rainwater, because the water that we are supplied is actually bore water, and it's really not suitable to drink.
You can't drink it? It's not good enough?
No, not good enough at all.
Yep.
You can drink it, but expect to visit the toilet.
Now, when you sent me these photos, I'm just putting some pictures up of one of your daughters walking with her gumboots along a red road. And I showed this to my wife, and the first question she asked is, how can you keep them clean with that dust everywhere?
You don't. And that is the best part about living so rural. You just let them get dirty because it keeps all the germs away. It is honestly the best thing you can do. I think in the time that we were up there, we only got sick because we had to make trips back to Adelaide. We caught the germs in Adelaide and brought them back up with us. Same with the other families. Exactly the same problem. You come to the larger cities and you collect everyone else's germs, and you go back up there and you sit in the sun for a good few hours and they're gone. They're right as rain, and or you just roll the kids in the mud a little bit, and all the germs don't like it. So it's great in that sense. They just love it. They're free. Yep. They just run free. I was talking to someone the other day, and they're sort of like, how do you feel about safety and the kids being there? And I said, look, I'd let them walk to school. The only thing that I said is be careful of snakes, spiders, and anything that can bite you. Yep. You know what the procedure is. If you see a snake, stand still, let it go past. But in regards to people and the Aboriginals there, no, I never felt uncomfortable letting them walk to school or walk to the pub or, go to one of the other houses that are abandoned and have a bit of a play. I never felt ever uncomfortable about safety with them, and it's really sad when you start reading stories on Facebook, that in the suburb that you used to live in, there were 6 abductions within a week, or attempted abductions within a week. And how do you live like that?
You become insanely paranoid and don't let your child out of your house anymore. That's how people tend to. But
I grew up being outside. I grew up getting dirty. I grew up going to the creek and being imaginative and just enjoying life.
But now you just do it on the Xbox, the creek simulator. I mean, come on. You can't get
fun.
You can't get Xbox points not doing that.
It's not as fun as throwing mud at each other and looking like little red Oompa Loompas and trying to figure out how you're going to wash your kids off.
or coming back home with a huge scratch on your face because you were playing with rusty nails somewhere. That was my childhood. And I still get yelled at now, nearly 40 years later. So, you've got the children there. They can enjoy themselves. And one of the, two things about your community. It's it's the only primarily non-Indigenous community out there. You've got a lot of other Aboriginal communities which are essentially former missions that have been flipped over to towns. And one thing we're hearing about in the media and in the government reports is that Mintabie is a gateway for the gangs and alcohol and everything to the to the indigenous communities further up. Why would you care to what's it like there? Do you have gangs of thugs coming through, or is it are there people with mohawks and flames coming out of the cars, or is it just a bit of media kind of getting a few more clicks by making it a bit more interesting?
So I have to say it's a little 50-50, and it's 50-50 in the sense, I'll start off with the negative side. So pretty much we've had, I would say, a higher rate of break-ins and thefts and things like that in the last few months, and it's mainly due to the fact that rumours are going around that Mintabie is a free-for-all, that people can just come in, take what they want, do what they like, and then nick off again, pretty much. And that is not the case. That is not the case. I will state that now.
Because there's no police station in your town, is there?
No. The closest police station is in Marla, which is 33 kilometres away down the dirt track.
Yep. So that's like you call them a cop, they're not coming for a couple of hours.
Well, see, the other thing is that there's not always police at the police station. So if Marla is unattended, the phone actually gets diverted to Port Augusta. And if you look on the map, Port Augusta is about 800 kilometres away from Marla.
Port Augusta, South Australia. Hang on. Whoa, wait, the map's zooming out. What? Oh, come on, but that's Adelaide.
Yes.
Port Augusta? That's just what kind of no bullshit. Come on, look at that.
I'm dead serious. Yeah.
Hang on.
800 kilometres away.
800 kilometres with a plane flying a straight line, not driving this windy ass bloody road and dirt tracks.
At 110, and then you get to a dirt track where you have to sit on anywhere between 60 and 90, depending on what section of the track you drive through and what vehicle you have as well. Don't forget. So it's a good 10-hour, drive to get to us from Port Augusta. So if something does dramatically happen, where we had a couple evenings of break-ins, it is very hard to get police presence out. It even got to a point where the residents in town actually did patrols ourselves. We organised a roster for the gentlemen in town that felt comfortable and strong enough to approach the people that were breaking in, and we had them on a 2-hourly roster overnight to make sure that places didn't get broken into. It did work successfully for 2 evenings.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we can't continue to uphold that. We're not getting paid to do that. We're using our own vehicles, our own petrol, and of course, it's the safety of our own residents. It's not a police force that have been.
So you've literally had to go like in the old Wild West. You've had to start patrolling your own streets. Yeah. From people coming in and breaking in, and the media's reporting on that or using that, or the government's using that as a justification for the closure of the town in some regards because of this crime that's there. But we just saw how far away your triple O call will go. It seems a bit dodged, doesn't it?
And it's also including in saying that about the media the government trying to use that as something to close the town down. It's also they're talking about the fact that the town is a mess and that it's unclean and that places are derelict. Yes, that is true. I will say that. But you have to understand these places are like that because we have been told to leave. What are we supposed to do with the place? Are we supposed to knock it down? Are we supposed to organise it to be transported to where we want to go next? What are we supposed to do with these places? If we leave them there, yes, they get broken into. The windows get smashed. Our furniture gets torn. They urinate and so forth in the toilets. They don't flush them. They leave them. So the place starts to smell. They graffiti on the walls, they break anything, they take whatever they like. So if there's furniture left behind because you need to come back and do another trip, it all gets destroyed. So you can't even leave your own place at this present moment to be able to organise a place to go. You can't inspect anything. My husband and I can't go look at a house together because he needs to stay there to make sure that our place is not being broken into and ransacked and trashed or even burnt.
So where is this? Other people from the other communities, or people from the Indigenous communities coming in, or just, you know, people from Adelaide driving up, or do you know who it is, or it's just any randoms that rock up?
We personally believe that it is a majority of the Indigenous people. We have seen many times them come into town. They've gone through houses, they've left the furniture outside to come back the next day to collect the furniture, or they've gone back to their community and said, look, we need a ute, we've got this, come collect it. So they've come back in and they've collected it. Majority of these cars don't even have license plates. They are just willy-nilly driving around the town collecting whatever they've, you know, sort of stored up. There has been talk that some places have been broken into by the non-Indigenous. I don't believe it's true, mainly because of the fact that you don't see random people that we don't know in town. The majority of them are actually tourists, and the first place they go is to the pub for a nice cold beer.
I mean, I can't imagine, to be honest, you drive all the way out to the middle of nowhere. What could you nick? A bit of furniture from someone's house? Maybe a TV if you're lucky, a fridge? I mean, you could buy it cheaper than the petrol it would cost to drive out there if you go in the city. You're not gonna do that. That's insane. You know, we're not talking unless you've got people there that have got bags full of opals that are, you know, secret, like crazy prospector stereotype thing. But if you're talking just people rocking up with a ute and emptying out an abandoned house, I mean, that must be intimidating living like that. Thinking, okay, you can't even leave with your husband or your house is just going to get done over.
It is. At the moment, it is. It has gotten worse. Like I said, more and more rumours are getting out, and I guess also with the media as well getting out, and the way that they are portraying the town, and that people are just leaving and leaving everything behind, and that it's a free-for-all. It's definitely not a free-for-all. We are literally just trying to find where to go in our next step, and we can't do that without having our place looked after. You know, you have to ask someone in town, can you go to my house? Can you stay there a couple nights to make sure that nothing gets taken? It's a very, very hard way of life. It's been several weeks since I last saw my husband. Because of the simple fact that we can't just get someone to look after the place to make sure that we don't lose the girls' toys, our angel daughter's ashes, and, you know, paperwork, birth certificates, all those sorts of things, but also just the basic thing, you know, your plates, glassware, all that sort of stuff. They just come in and they'll just throw it on the floor and break it because it's fun.
So it's just a bunch of thugs taking what they can, having no respect for it.
Yeah,
that's terrible to hear. That really is. And you know, what can you do? You can't call the police. They're not going to do anything. The state doesn't care. They want you all gone.
And the thing is, they want to pin the way that the town looks on us. But it doesn't start with us. It starts with the government, because the government has said that we need to leave. So what are we supposed to do?
So are people feeling hopeless? I mean, you wouldn't give a shit then, would you? Frankly, you know.
A couple weeks ago, I drove up to try and get as much as I could in my car, and you know, I've only got a 7-seater SUV. I can't get much in there. I had to take one of the kids with me because leaving all 3 kids with my mum is probably not a smart option.
Oh, don't worry, I leave all 4 with mine. She wants to kill me. That's the job of a grandparent.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. So I thought, you know, I'll take one with me and try and get as much back as I could. And I sat in the pub one evening, and it's heartbreaking because we no longer talk about what we found at the opal field. We no longer talk about, you know, how beautiful the day was, or you know what's been happening. It's all really somber. It's all really sad. it's heartbreaking. I see these beautiful people that are just so loving and caring and kind and just so welcoming. It's like a big family. You go up there, and if you need something and you say, look, I ran out of milk, have you got some milk? Sure, I've got some milk. I ran out of dog food. Are you going, you know, to Alice to get some dog food or to do some shopping? Can I get some dog food off you?
Wait, Alice is in Alice Springs?
Alice is in Alice Springs. Most people drive to Alice Springs to do their shopping.
Oh, really?
Yes.
How far up is... Wait, what?
500 Ks.
That's
our closest Woolworths.
Do you stay the night? Or is it around?
Majority of the time, no. It is literally you leave at about 4:35 a.m. You get in your car, you drive and drive and drive, do your shopping, and then get back home.
So, do you do a once a month shop? Do you stock up? Or
for my husband and myself, because we've had a few issues, we've had to come back to Adelaide.
Yep.
So I have done the majority of my shops in Adelaide, and yes, you literally just put money aside each week and do a massive shop. You look like the crazy lady that's got 2 shopping trolleys, and you look like you got 20 kids that you have to feed.
Yeah.
So yes, you do have to do a big shop. And you just have to plan your meals really carefully. I guess the one good, great, fantastic thing about summer and living in the desert is you just have Zupa Dupas or Icy Poles for breakfast, lunch and dinner.
We've also gone to like monthly shops, and our claim to fame is stopping the conveyor belt at Aldi working because we put everything on there.
Yes.
And you know that's proud, and they look at you like you're insane. They think, "Oh, you from the country?" Go, no, we just live one suburb over. But
yeah, that's right. But you know, I have to admit, you know, I think in the end you do actually save a bit of money because you're a bit more conscious about how much food wastage you have, and being so remote as well. You know, the prices are a lot dearer up there because of the fact that you have to transport it, and fuel's not cheap either to transport those things up there. So that's understandable in some cases. In some cases, I think it is a bit of a money grab, but hey, kudos to them if they're getting it. But yeah, when it comes to things like being a hot summer, yeah, majority of the time the kids just sort of mung out on Super Dupas and frozen grapes and frozen watermelon and things like that. So that's pretty much sort of what we live off when it comes to the summertime.
So the school's it was closed down at the beginning of the year, and you were telling me before
the end of last year.
So, the end of last year, and you kind of had no notice, no one from the department came out to tell you, or what was it like?
So basically what's happened is we've been sort of since, I think, August, October, I'm pretty sure we had a meeting in October with a few government bodies from different sections or departments of the government. They came out and spoke to us. They got questions from us. They tried to figure out, you know, sort of what our next steps are and where we'd like to go and what we'd like to do. They basically came back to Adelaide, said we'll be back in 3 months. It was just a little bit longer than 3 months, but they did come back. They basically came back with no answers. There was no answer to would we get compensation in moving our stuff? Would we get help in moving our stuff? You know, have you got a company that would come up and willingly drive their trucks down the track and pack our houses up in this heat? We didn't get answers about can we continue to mine, you know, etc. All those questions, we literally got no answers. They were just standing there and going over the facts of pretty much everything we already knew.
Yep.
And then in late November, I believe it was the 21st of November, there was a town meeting, and it just happened to be that evening, the night before on the 20th, that the head of the MMPA received a letter, and in the letter...
MMPA?
Oh, I can't remember what it breaks down to. The Mintabie Mining Progress Association.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic.
I think that was
yeah,
right.
that sounds right. That sounds right.
There's a lot of, obviously, with departments and the Aboriginal lands, there's a lot of titles that are broken down just into the letters, so you have to try and remember what's what. So yes, the Mintabie Mining Progress Association received a letter, and the letter stipulated that the town will in fact close, and everyone is to be I'm just trying to think of the correct wording. I'd have to send you the I don't even know if I can send you the letter. But it actually said that we have to leave, that we are to leave the town, and we need to be out by June 30. Yep. If anyone remains in the town after June 30, you must have an APY permit. But I also believe that at this present time that you're even not able to get the APY permit.
So for people who may not realise, the APY, that's the Indigenous Lands Council that Mintabie is now on, even though Mintabie existed before that land was designated, and
before that actual council was put together too.
Before the council, well, I think Mintabie started in '78, didn't it? Oh, I was looking. So it's before the council even existed. And this, we're not talking a small area of South Australia. We're talking probably one of the largest freehold landowners on the planet, this organisation. And so you need a permit. Why do you need a permit to go on their land? That's a good question. It would be like a body corporate tower in Brisbane banning all Indians or all Chinese just for that reason, because it really it doesn't sit well with me, just fundamentally, some of these issues. And what's frustrating to me is it looks like we're losing a bit of the outback charm of Australia, a bit of our pioneering heritage that's left over here. And I mean, you were telling me that you went out there and you've had all these experiences there. And I'm going to Rachel, going, bloody hell, maybe we should pack up and do a couple of years out there.
You'll save a bucket load of money, I'm telling you.
Well, you can't spend it on anything, can you, when you're out there? 500 Ks to go get some chocolate? You got to be kidding me.
Well, the pub, luckily, I have to admit, Ivanka and Luca at the pub, they do have a supply of chocolate and some very, very lovely homemade cheesecake. Can't complain there.
So how the businesses in the town, how are they coping with this prospect? It must be gut-wrenching for them as well.
They're losing out massively. Obviously, they have to have stock on their shelves because there's still people in town. And once those people go, well, they're left with that stock, and if they can't move that stock on, it's then their loss. There is, like at the pub, their fridges are full of alcohol and soft drinks and things like that, and it's what do you do with it once you're finished? Those fridges, they're commercial hotel, bar, bistro fridges. What do you do with them? How are they supposed to get them back to Adelaide if they were to even want to sell them?
Oh, don't worry. I'm sure they'll wind up on the side of a road in another community somewhere, torn to pieces. Isn't that what happened?
It's pretty much, because, our hands are tied. We can't leave because we're running the risk of our place being broken into, and we can't stay because we need to organise to leave. You can't do one without the other. And a lot of people in town have even said, look, just give us a hand moving our stuff. We've got, some people have got 40 years. People have been there since the start. 40 years of a life up there. How do you move 40 years?
Yeah.
That's 40 years of your heart and soul that you've put into this town, your house, the people around you. I know I haven't been there that long, and look, I'm not here wanting to complain or anything like that. I'm just sort of trying to be a voice for the other people in the community that, you know, they've been there for that long, that it's family, it's home. Imagine the house that you're living in, that you've been there for 20 plus years, and the government turns around and says, well, you know what, you got to get out.
So what about, so there's some elderly people in the community there. That's one thing they mentioned in the report. And apparently, you know, some of the indigenous people in the APY felt sorry for them and wanted to look at ways of allowing them to stay. Is that happening anymore, or is it just all just, you know, spin? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one difficult thing. I guess it's your home. Your home. You've been there for years. If you've been there for 40 years, you want to die there, pretty much.
Yeah.
And it'd be actually a culture shock for someone going from a remote community like that into a city, and that could be enough to kill someone. But they don't care. It feels like that. It seems very unfair and un-Australian. You think that you could reach a compromise on this little tiny town on the side of this huge amount of land. And
that's the thing. It has been the entire time trying to negotiate and get some sort of compromise from the government. We are not here saying that we want millions and millions of dollars. That's not what we're asking for. We are just asking for some compassion and some understanding that you are removing us from our homes. Yes, it's a 12-month lease, but the thing is that you don't move into a rental property for 12 months going, okay, well, after 12 months, I've got to pack my stuff up because I might have to move out.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that, are you? You're hoping to stay there for years. That's what your hope is. And that's what you sign a lease and a rental agreement for. It's not for going, okay, let's pack up after 11 months. You know, we need to be out by this date. Oh, okay, hang on, let's re-sign the lease so that we can stay again. That's rubbish. That's crap. I think that's a very crap statement for them to say, and I think it's very hurtful as well to do that. And it's just appalling. There's nothing else you can say. It's really appalling.
You're just dealing with bureaucrats, essentially, that probably can't appreciate the challenges, or can't relate, are dehumanizing the story. But I mean, that's what we're seeing in the media. That's what we're seeing in the reporting from the government as well. You know, you're seeing a particular persuasive argument put through, and it's not very compassionate. And
no.
I mean, what's going to happen to the town when they kick you out? You know, what do they want to do? They want to hire the Aboriginal people to do some weeding and clean up the town. I mean,
that's what's been written in the report. But the thing is that I have to say, the Aboriginals, they don't have the respect for the land. You think that this is their home, that, you know, that they were here first and so forth. Okay, yes, you may have a few, you know, it's like anywhere, there's always a few. But the thing is that when you hear stories and you hear situations that happen, and in one particular story I was told that whenever a politician or someone of a higher stature goes out to these communities and has a TV crew that goes with them, there is actually a 3 to 4 month notice given to that community to clean it up, to clean the rubbish, to clean the feral people out of the town, to clean up the buildings, to clean it up in general, to make it look like a beautiful community that everyone's getting along. So, and I find that really funny because we have media rock up 2 to 3 days, you know, we don't get any notice, and they're there. Well, we don't have to clean up our town. We don't need to go around with rubbish bags and pick up all the rubbish off the ground because we put them in our rubbish bins and we take them to the dump. That's the other thing. We don't have rubbish trucks that collect our rubbish. We do that ourselves. We put them on a trailer and we take it to the dump.
No, don't you need to like strap it to your body as armor for bullets and things when you're walking in the streets to fight off, you know, the crazies?
It's so dangerous.
Yeah, when you get your saw blade boomerangs.
Oh yeah.
Sorry,
honestly, it's nothing like that. It's beautiful. We go for walks quite often. You know, even just down to the pub, we just go for a walk with the kids. Many times the kids are like, "Hey, can we go noodling in the front yard?" And I'm like, sure, go for it. They
you'd
just sit in the front yard.
You'd know everyone in town, pretty much.
You do.
So
you do.
You wouldn't worry as much as it'd be like any old country town, really, or being out bush, or how.
Pretty much.
So the nearest towns up north, it's I'm pronouncing all these indigenous names wrong, and I'm copying it in all my videos. What's Indulkana?
Indalkana.
Indalkana. And Indalkana and Mimili. Oh yeah. It'll come up in the comments. I'll get it every time about everything. I tell you, when you talk about anything in Europe with all these weird ass names,
Yeah.
So it looks like you've got the Stewart Highway connecting you, and there's all these back roads as well. And
those, can I say as well, those back roads are not government roads. They're actually roads that the Aboriginals have created, and they are not suitable at all for driving. You are asking to get stuck.
A four-wheel drive, or even just a dirt track.
They're not even dirt tracks. They are. I heard one story that it is like a creek. It sort of resembles, or somehow or other looks like a road, but it's actually a creek that they're driving in.
So it's one of the things that was mentioned in the report is that you've got people coming from the city and then selling cars to the indigenous community there. And they're just, for inflated prices, and they're just dying out there and in that area. And it's another. As an architect, there's a famous architect, Paul Falaris, who died a few years ago, but he worked with Habitat or Healthy Housing, where they were looking at the housing in these remote communities. And the problem is a lot of the indigenous people, the kids were getting sick because the basic water and electrical systems and air conditioning, they just fell apart because they were taking, suburban stuff from inner city that could be maintained or could deal with the water that we have here, then sticking it in the middle of Australia and wondering why it didn't work. And, it's a struggle to keep a kid clean in a place like this when you've got running water, but when you don't have running water, that's how you get eye diseases and all these things. So it's just a mismatch between the technology and these communities out there. That's a concern. So
and the lack of it's also the lack of support from the government in keeping the town, I guess, to a standard as well. If they're saying that the town is leased through the South Australian government, why aren't there certain things being taken care of? Things like water, things like sewerage, things like streets in the town. Why aren't they maintained by the government regularly? The government surely understands that when there's a storm that comes through, well, these are unsealed roads. These are roads that have got large rocks and are just covered by sand. So the water gets taken away and you are left with just rock. And in times like that, why isn't the government coming out and fixing up the roads? They're getting annoyed with us by selling cars that can't survive out there. Well, fix the roads. You've got abandoned cars. You need to do something about it. So fix the roads that are there.
So they've got. It's like here in Queensland. You'd have a campground in the middle of nowhere and they'd shut it off and they'd maintain all the roads and access to ensure it's safe public access. It's part of their duty of care and their responsibilities. And, as citizens of the state, I get the feeling they don't really like you very much, or they're ignoring your needs, maybe intentionally or neglecting it a little bit. Because there's a lot of potential there. It's a large, opal area and there's a demand for opals. And it looks like we're going to, lose this opportunity here. And it'll just be, hopefully they want forgotten or, not used, not utilized. And it's
sad. And the thing is, there's lots of talk about, potential oil being underneath the ground or water that they would like to mine for. So that's great, But why not work together? Why not go, look, this area has all this potential. Why not work together? Why not give South Australians or even Australians the job opportunities that the government talks about all the time and are constantly trying to get jobs for people? You know, why not create them? Okay, look, we found oil here. Let's set up and let's make this, you know, an oil site. Look, we found water. Let's set that up. Look, there's opal. Come on, let's set that up. Let's give the proper housing to these people so that they're happy to live out in what they call hell on earth. But they don't want to work together. They are just wiping their hands of it and going, you know what, we're just going to sell off another piece of Australia.
Well, it's been a long time since large rural infrastructure projects have been developed here. I mean, we had the mining boom here in Queensland a decade ago. The Adani coal mine is just facing roadblock after roadblock. And you've got people in northern Queensland who want work and who need these type of projects. And we're having all these floods now in Queensland, but we don't have any dams to help capture the water or to use it, and it's causing all these environmental problems. So it's a flow-on effect too. Yeah. It starts with you, and then it just flows on further south, and it's really, really appalling that the government aren't standing up and going, you know what? We really need to listen to the people, because the people are the ones that live out there. They're the ones that live in these rural communities. They're the ones that live out in the plains, not us. You know, we've got these fancy, beautiful houses that are given to us by taxpayers. They don't understand what it's like and what we go through every single day. You're forgetting the nannies they bring in from overseas and only pay $5 an hour to take care of the kids as well. Right. All those luxuries that they have. I think there's. Yeah. My kids come with us. They come with us opal mining. I don't have a nanny. Yeah, no, it's a waste of money. It's a luxury. Yeah. You don't need that. They can work. Once they're three, they should be out there noodling for you. Or they don't get dinner. They do. Work. Oh, they do. Don't you worry. When you call out to them and they're not in their household, you know exactly where they are. Yep. Yeah. Oh, that's it's sad in a way. I really hope that a good outcome is reached with the town here, where the people can remain. And I think the more Australians just hear about it and hear your story, and that you're normal people, that your kids are there having a good time, you've got a community there. I think a lot of people would be appalled at how the South Australian government just doesn't give a damn, and how the Aboriginal Council they're not trying to reach a compromise with you. I mean, for all the optics, the inner city greenies on their march go and change the date and all this rubbish, and here we got a bunch of Australians being kicked off their homes. It looks terrible, really, and that we've put money into. Don't forget that either. We've put money into these homes. They haven't just popped up out of nowhere. They're going to get abandoned then and destroyed. It's if you were compensated, if they said, okay, here you go, guys, here's a check, or we'll get you an opportunity in Copapedia or something else, to surely they could help ease the burden, and then say, here's the plan to continue the town in the future. Or if they're just going to steamroll it and give the royalties away, but yeah, it's. There's another very important fact that I'd like to mention as well. The government has come out. SA Housing has come out. They've been very lovely, the people that we've spoken to. We did look at possibly getting a house in Copapedia, but unfortunately through Housing SA, they don't have any houses for non-Indigenous people in Copapedia. What? They only have houses for Indigenous people. What do you mean? What you mean? The public housing in South Australia, because you're not Indigenous, you can't get a house. Can't you just say you are? No. How are they going to check? Just make your own tribe up. Seriously. I'd love to sometimes. Just do it. But that's how discriminated they have been. Is that I said to them, so do you have housing
in Coober Pedy for us to go to. If we wanted to go to Coober Pedy,
Yep.
do you have a house? Because through Housing SA, they obviously only charge you a percentage of what your wage is, instead of charging $200 or $300. But no, they don't actually have any housing for non-Indigenous people. It is only for Indigenous only.
This whole identity politics and racism that is, what frustrates me is they think that all these do-gooders think they're going to help the Aboriginal people by doing this, and this. And I was involved at university where I was teaching in a program where they gave additional support to these Aboriginal kids. And this one young guy I was talking to, he was studying architecture, and he was telling me about the Indigenous games that they had for the universities. And I'm going, mate, why do you have your separate uni games? Come to the normal ones, meet the same girls we all meet. That's what university is about. And even here at my university, at QUT, they had these Indigenous-only computer labs, and they kicked out a whole bunch of white kids out of it, and it all went to court, and the lady claimed all these issues, and she's going bankrupt now because one of them posted QUT fighting discrimination, or fighting segregation with segregation. That's what he posted, and that was traumatic to her. But sensible people see that this is just pointless, and it's not going to make any difference in the long run. It's just causing a divide between people who should be coming together and working together. That's what it is.
We are going back to the good old American days of white people and black people, and it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that at all. If you're born in Australia, you are an Australian. Whether you've got a German heritage, whether you have an English heritage, whether you're the first Australian in your family, it doesn't matter. If you are born here, you are born here. You are Australian. We all have rights to the land, regardless. Yes, there are sacred places. I understand Ayers Rock is something, or my apologies, Uluru is, a unique feature to Australia. It was here well before anyone else, back when the Aboriginals were around initially. And I understand those things, but the thing is that, seriously, we are forever changing, and things like that. So why can't we all just be one? We are all Australian regardless. Let's treat each other like Australians. You read these reports and it's just, it's unbelievable. It's not Australian. It's not the Australian way. I was raised with the Australian way of being kind, of loving your neighbour, of helping your neighbour, helping someone you don't know, helping a stranger. For several years, I had a small secondhand pre-loved baby clothing hobby that I did, where I'd get together clothes and things like that, and little nursery packages. And it started off, apologies, it started off being able to help young mums, 16-year-olds that are having babies, and they couldn't afford to go out and spend lots and lots of money on packages.
Yep.
So I, being the person that I was just being kind. I was helping someone else out, a stranger that I didn't know. I had mums and grandmothers sending me messages saying, look, my daughter's 16, she's pregnant. Can you help me? What can you get for me together? I wasn't in it to make $1 million. I was just in it to help other mothers get themselves together. And for me, that's Australian. That's what you do. You help out where you can, in so many ways. And it's really coming now down to the pointy end where we are losing the Australian heritage, very much so, and it's really sad.
I think a lot of people are no longer charitable. They expect the government to take care of it. And as anyone who knows anything about any government organization, they'll fuck it up no matter what they do. Even them being charitable, they'll bugger it up. They'll screw it up. And they're doing a terrible job at it. And we can see here the fact that you can't even get an opportunity in Coober Pedy with public housing because of your race. I mean, that you should take that to the anti-discrimination tribunal, because it's. Yeah. Every day I'm finding another thing, another discrimination thing all around the world. It's just getting more and more, and the danger is you're gonna get this race-based identity politics. It's going to drive a wedge between people, and then you'll drive more people to the fanatic side, and you'll get all these movements coming up. And you can see it happening here in Australia. You can see
it's already happening.
And that's the danger. So these do-gooders don't realize the path that they're pushing. They're pushing the world, and they're pushing people. So I think more sensible discussions in public need to happen. And I mean, you saw what happened to Kerry Ann, where she was maybe not very eloquently talking about some of the issues in Indigenous communities with regards to sexual assault and these things. And the first thing other people say is you sound racist and want to shut her down, when statistically there are problems in these communities that if you even talk about it, you get slapped in the face. So,
but you know what? But the thing is that there are those problems everywhere you go. Everything that the government has listed in that report is everywhere you go. Every suburb, every town, every city, whether it's next to the major city or not, it is everywhere you go. So my question is, are they going to shut down every single suburb and every single town and every single city that has this violence, drugs, alcohol, lawlessness, hooning, everything that they've listed? I mean, King Street in Sydney, prime example.
Well, so they're getting rid of Mintabie. Are they getting rid of the other towns in APY land that have these problems as well? Where there's crime.
Sydney, on King Street. When they've got all the pubs on King Street.
They can shut down Sydney. I don't mind. They can take it, give it away. And Melbourne, we'll just build a wall around Melbourne. It's fine.
It's ridiculous. It's absolute ludicrous to be saying, that this is the reason why we're shutting down one small town that's actually producing opal. It's been slower. Why has it been slower? Because there's not many opal miners left to be doing it, because we've got no support at all. Start at the start and work your way down the list. Don't just sit there and say, that's the problem, because the problem is definitely not the problem. It starts all the way up here. So they really need to break down and look at everything and not just go, oh, look, well, that's the problem.
Well, if they, they're destroying the town, essentially. They want to get rid of the town. If they looked at ways to reinvigorate it and to kind of create employment for the local people in that part of the country, maybe that will improve lives more than anything. But the cynic in me thinks that they like having a lot of people, out there who are dependent on the state. Maybe that's just the paranoid conspiracy theorist in me thinking that. But it's... And
the stories as well. Let's not forget all the stories behind each resident that is actually up there. Some of the stories from the people that I've met are just horrific. They are so sad. I'm not going to say the stories, but it breaks your heart. These people are living with depression, anxiety, PTSD, everything. It's heartbreaking for these people. And now, after everything that they have gone through, they are now getting kicked out of their own home.
So you've got people that have found a community on the edge of civilization, and it's given them something to hold on to and probably saved their lives, and now it's just been stripped away from them. That's Australian, isn't it? That's a fair go. That's what you think when you sing the anthem in school as a kid, or when you kick the footy around. It's bullshit, frankly.
Yeah, it is. It's heartbreaking. In the last 2 years, my husband and I have lost 4 babies.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's been really hard. We lost 2 when we were up there. A lot was due to stress. And in findings, stress is a major cause of stillbirth and miscarriage. And the lack of support and the lack of compassion and the lack of care that the government has given to us is just, it's killing each and every person in that town. It's destroying them. It's absolutely destroying them. You talk to every single person and they don't want to give up the life that they've got, the freedom, the love for fresh air, and the love to dig in holes and blow the earth up. You know, it's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking. And some of the stories that I've been told from these people and their past are a lot harder than mine.
It is really quite sad that people are just being torn out of this community, and you can tell that one part of life is just being able to relax at home with a beer and not worry about what's going to happen in the future. That's kind of what everyone we want. We just want, you know, the what was that movie? That Australian movie? Dream. Yeah, the serenity of sitting under the power poles in the castle. You know, that type of thing, and it's being torn away from this community. And I mean, I'd like to thank you so much for agreeing to have a chat with me and to give a bit of insight into your town there, so we can see it's just a bunch of normal Australians that are losing pretty much their home, they're losing their dream, they're losing the lifestyle that they want. I feel, you're young, you'll be able to recover. I think the trauma of removing the town. Your kids may be a bit bloody annoyed, but you know they're kids, and your husband will have to find someone else to do. But I think the older people that have been there for a real long time, just that change of environment, imagine if you're there living out there, and then they put you in the city, and then you kind of get injured, then they stick you in a home. That's going to kill them. That would kill someone at that age. And just the lack of compassion from our civic leaders coming through here. I think I was reading a report where it was a tabling from the minutes of government where they were literally saying how few voters were in the town, so how insignificant it was. So that can just tell you that some of these politicians don't give a damn. But the advantage we have now is we've got social media. Normal people can have a conversation about it, and you can put it out there, and you don't know who's going to watch it.
That's right.
And I'd like to thank you for taking the time to chat with me and to give me a bit of insight into your town and kind of destroy my Mad Max fantasy that I had going on in my head.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I was going to get my saw blade, boomerang, and get the ute and weld stuff together. It would have been fantastic. But I think often it would probably be like an old RSL with a bunch of locals sitting at the pub. More a country practice than Mad Max. I'm thinking that could be
definitely a country practice. Yep. And can I just add, if anyone wants to come up and come visit, please do. You see these ads on TV saying support your local. Well, you know what? Mintabie's local. It's South Australian. The people that work in the pub are local. People that work in the second-hand shop are local. Come support us. Come see us. Come visit us. Come dig my driveway up. I give you full permission to dig my driveway up. Come to the opal mines. Have a bit of a look around. Meet the people. And get a feel for who we actually are. School holidays are coming up, so pack your kids up, come out with your old clothes, bring your gloves, bring your shovels, and just enjoy the freedom. And just know that there are snakes, so just beware.
So I'm just showing the pictures of the swimming in the cave. Is that still going on, or has the water run away?
Yeah. No. The water holds there. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful, and it's so much fun. The kids just love it. The freedom. Mum and dad saying, "Oh, you don't have money to go to the swimming pool." Well, you know what? We just walk there and walk down to the cave and jump in the water. There's no paying for it. You just enjoy nature as it is. So
now tourists can still visit the town, but once they get rid of the town, you can't go on that land unless you have a permit.
No, that's right. And the permit has to be through the APY, and the APY determine whether they will give you the permit or not. It's their decision. Even if you fill in the application thinking that yes, you'll be able to go, that's not the case. It's they make the decision whether you're allowed to go on the lands or not.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's a big chunk of Australia that normal people can't get to, like a military base.
It pretty much is sometimes, yeah.
Well, no, thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we say goodbye?
No, just come up and visit. Bring a jar with you that's got a good lid that's watertight, and come find some opal. I guarantee you, it's something you'll never be able to do again.
Hang on,
Mintabie.
let me see how far it is from Brisbane. Let's see if I can convince Rachel. Okay. Oh. What's that movie, that Wolf Creek movie? Have you seen that one where the backpackers get killed in the middle of Australia? Ever since I watched that, I'm terrified about driving in the middle of Australia. So I'm about straight line.
The people out here are just amazing.
It's only
They're friendly.
2,000 kilometres away from me.
It's a good 3-day drive. Make sure you've got lots of DVDs packed for the kids.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for having this chat with me, and keep in touch. Let me know how it goes. I'll share a link to the I think there's a change.org petition as well. But people should just need to write to their politicians, I think, to just say, even at a federal level, say this is unacceptable, un-Australian. We don't want this happening.
That's right.
We want people to have a fair go in Australia, and it seems to be disappearing more and more every day. No, thank you very much, and I'll see you later.
No worries. Bye.